So during the month of September, like I noted, we're working to highlight workforce development efforts across the aging services sector. There are many inspiring and encouraging stories of how our member organizations have grown employees from within their ranks. And joining us today, Rich Rodriguez from Glen Meadows Retirement Community. Thanks for being here. Would love to hear a bit more about your professional background, how you got to where you are today.
hmm Yeah, sure. So my career path is probably not the normal. I started out, or my degree is in athletic training. So I worked primarily with athletes in the college level and high school setting. Fitness has always been something that I love. I started working out myself at 18 and I've been doing it ever since. So it was just a natural progression. I always worked in the fitness industry one way or the other, whether that was in a college setting, high school setting, in fitness sales, in multiple big box gyms. Um, so that was kind of my career path. And in 2017, I took a leave of absence from my position at a gym to take care of my father-in-law who was dealing with cancer. We moved him up here from North Carolina, so he was not familiar with Maryland, and he needed to go from where we live to Baltimore City, to the Veterans Hospital to get treatment. And in doing so, I was his primary caregiver. I was also trying to get him in shape as far as being able to recover faster from surgery. So, with a background in athletic training, I've dealt a lot with injury rehab and prevention. So we did a lot of rehab type stuff at home. Um, and then when he started to decline cognitively, um, I sought out a job here at Glen Meadows. It was part-time, it was flexible. It allowed me to do what I needed to do with his healthcare, but also have, a normal-ish job. Um, and then the pandemic hit. And one of the things that I'm very thankful for, is the fact that um, kind of God had a plan. Um, because I had friends in the fitness industry that were hit really hard with the pandemic. And a lot of people were. And reflecting back on it, I'm very grateful and very thankful that I was here at Glen Meadows because it allowed me to continue um, uh, being employed. But it also allowed this position, this role here at Glen Meadows to grow. So coming out of the pandemic, or going into it even, I was not just the fitness director, as most retirement communities would probably attest to this is, all hands on deck. So you do what you need to do to serve our residents. So, it became not just the fitness, my role was just not the fitness director. It was delivering meals. It was getting involved with the residents, things like that. So, um, again, it was just a natural progression. I'm really thankful that I have a great supervisor who puts up with me and my antics, and really nurtures the creativity in our team.
That's wonderful. So you started with Glen Meadows right before COVID.
I
What
did.
kinds of opportunities have you had since joining the team at Glen Meadows to kind of learn and grow and develop?
I just recently received or just finished my nutrition certification coach, which will allow me to provide nutritional coaching services to the residents for a fee. So that is going to help boost revenue in our personal training services. And that will allow me to seek out other certifications, conferences, new fitness equipment, new classes, new teachers. So yeah, that's one opportunity I've been able to take on recently.
That's great. What, how, what is that program through? I'm not familiar with it. Is it
It's through
online
NASM.
or? Okay.
Yep, it was online through NASM.
Okay. That's really cool. Exciting. Um, what do you find is the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part of my job has to be the relationships with residents and team members. I think that is probably by far um, one of the things that I look forward to and one of the things that keeps me here.
Mhm.
Um, I have two really cool stories. My first story, um, it was like my first 2 weeks here, and we had a social event, and I was serving ice cream. Someone saw my name tag, Rich Rodriguez, a Spanish last name, started talking to me in Spanish. And I said, Mr. Jones, that wasn't his name, but I said, Mr. Jones, I don't speak Spanish. I'm actually from the Philippines. Well, right behind him was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Bob DeBell. He was a World War II veteran.
Wow.
He landed in the Philippines in Manila with General MacArthur to help liberate the islands from Japanese control during World War
Wow.
II. So I formed that relationship with him. So that was really, that was a bond right there with one resident. I'm currently training another resident now, one on one. She's in her 90s, and she shares my passion for traveling as well. During our warm up, I asked her to read me an excerpt from a journal, one of her travel journals. And in one particular journal, she was actually writing while she was on the cruise ship leaving Bali, Indonesia, on her way to Europe. With this was probably in the 70s, and she shared this bed and breakfast in Bali that she stayed in, had a wonderful time. So when we went to Bali last year, my wife and I, we went to that bed and breakfast and got her a
Wow.
T-shirt.
That is
So it's
so
just
cool.
so it's all those relationships and stories um, that the residents and I share.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for sharing those. That is so cool.
Sure.
And when you first started in college when you were younger in um like athletic exercise science, like did you have any clue that you'd be doing this kind of work today?
Absolutely not. I mean, if you had asked me in November of 2019 um, if I would be here 5 years later, I probably would have said no.
Yeah,
But I'll have to say that this population and high school athletes are my favorite population to work with.
that is really cool. What are some examples of practices or programs that you've seen Glen Meadows um do to really support the development of their workforce? Are there things that you've seen there that have been successful?
We have a lot of in-service. I think uh, as as a staff, we communicate a lot with each other. But also the team leaders do a really good job of disseminating information. Um, the for my department, community life, we tend to have an informal lunch almost 3 or 4 days a week
Mhm.
as a team. Housekeeping does the same thing, nursing when they can. So I think there's just and this might seem negative, but there's little cliques within our community. We all work together. We're
Mhm.
all, we're all in a symbiotic relationship with one another. Um, but these little cliques exist, and I think it makes um, everyone um, uh, kind of work together even better.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Uh,
great. It sounds like you guys have just a really close team there and that you spend a
we
lot of
do,
time together doing things other than just working, like eating
we
meals
do.
together and spending time.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that goes a long way to helping people feel like they're part of a team.
Hmm. Absolutely.
What advice would you give someone who is interested in either progressing further in the field of aging services or someone who's not even thinking about working in this field right now, who maybe would consider it in the future?
Um, I think one of the biggest advice is there's so much, and I didn't know this going into Glen Meadows, is that there's so much um, information and education out there for this population. I was so, um, for me, it was I'm training a specific type of population. Prior to Glen Meadows, it was a specific type of population, specific type of individual, a specific type of group. And that was it. That's all I really knew. But coming here to Glen Meadows really opened my eyes that there is protocols that need to be followed if you have someone who has a pacemaker, and there's a lot of education out there for that. Another thing is, I think I learned this from the Leading Age Maryland conference, is we need to really educate ourselves about the residents that are not only here in our community, but the ones that are going to be coming in. How are we going to market ourselves? How are we going to target those individuals that are not necessarily ready to move into a community like ours, but how when are we going to be ready for them when they are here? And how can we promote ourselves, differentiate ourselves, and encourage them that this is the right community for them?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share?
Um, no, I think the biggest thing is just keeping an open mind. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to be here 5 years into it, and it's been such a rewarding experience to have a good group of people, a great team leaders that really nurture and cultivate everybody's creativity, everybody's strengths and weaknesses. Um, it took a while to get there, but I think we have a really good group here.
Yeah. One thing actually I did want to follow up on is you made the comment that, and this might seem small, but it sounds like when you first came to Glen Meadows, it was a flexible position. It was
Mhm.
part-time and it was
Yes.
flexible. And that's what made it work for you. What do you
Yes.
think the role of organizations being flexible in recruiting and retaining good people is?
I think that being flexible is really important. I think the pandemic has showed that there has to be some leeway, some flexibility. The not necessarily in our industry, but a lot of people have that work from home
Mhm.
flexibility. That definitely is important. One of For me, again, flexibility. Even though I'm full time now, there is still that flexibility that I can, um, you know, go to Bali if I wanted to,
Mhm.
and I'm really grateful that I have team members um, that are willing to pick up not necessarily pick up the slack, but team members that support one another, not just
Mhm.
me, but everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, flexibility is definitely an important thing to have in an employer.
Yeah. For sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing with me today, Rich. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. It was great to
Sure.
see you in person too.
Yeah, absolutely.